College football legend Tavon Austin has officially retired from the NFL after 10 seasons. And when you think about Tavon Austin's career, he definitely is one of the saddest disappointments in recent memory. Because you think about this electric player coming out of West Virginia where all you had to do was just get the ball in his hands and he could make things happen with how explosive and dynamic he was in the open field with the ball in his hands, his ability to just turn a bad play into a great play. But what hurt Tavon Austin is that he entered the NFL at a time where the league didn't know how to maximize a guy like his talents at that point of where the league was at that time. You see, back then, you weren't really utilizing a lot of smaller, shiftier wide receivers. It was still a big man's game on the perimeter. Guys that you wanted as your ideal receivers were like your Julio Jones, your Calvin Johnsons, and these slot receivers, which is what Tavon Austin kind of was. They weren't really utilized as much back then as what they are now. And if Tavon Austin would have been drafted in today's NFL within the span of now to a few years ago, 2021, he would have had a way better career because it's an offensive revolution going on. You got way more offensive minds that are way more creative and innovative with how they utilize guys like Tavon Austin's skill set now than what they were a decade ago. Think about Tank Dell. Smaller player, only 5'8", a buck 60, a buck 70 pounds, but you've seen how dominant he's been when he's on the field. Even look at Devon A-Chain with the Miami Dolphins. He's undersized. He's not even 200 pounds, but yet he's one of the most explosive backs in the league because of the offense that he's in with Mike McDaniel. If Tavon Austin was playing for the Miami Dolphins right now in his prime years, he would have had a fantastic career because being in a scheme like a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDaniel scheme would have been perfect for him because he would have been used a lot more in motion, which would have easily helped him get open a lot easier than what it was a few years back. Because Tavon Austin, coming out of college, he was never known as somebody that was a great route runner and being able to consistently beat press coverage. His biggest weakness was that he'd get overpowered by bigger, more physical defensive backs, which is why you had to go to an offensive-minded head coach that could scheme him open, or an offensive coordinator that knew how to just manufacture ways to get the ball in his hands. And there were a lot of plays throughout Tavon Austin's NFL career where he got the ball, he had a little bit of space to work with, and that's why he had so many amazing special team touchdown returns. He had big plays where he got the ball behind the line of scrimmage. He made a few guys miss. That's how you have to utilize Tavon Austin. He wasn't just your prototypical Wes Welker slot receiver. You had to find ways to get him involved. You had to find ways to help him create. And that's why in today's NFL, having more Sean McVay kind of head coaches now that are really cerebral when it comes to strategizing and maximizing the most out of their personnel, Tavon Austin would have thrived in today's era of the NFL. 2013 was like the last days of old school football when you ran tight end heavy sets. You didn't have a lot of receivers on the field. It was all about running the football and being physical on the line of scrimmage. But with the rules changing, and now this being an NFL that in the decades of the 2020s more so favors the offense, and it's really hard to cover these wide receivers because you can't be as physical with them as what you were 10 years ago. A guy like Tavon Austin would have greatly benefited from the rule changes that we now have in the league today. This is a more friendlier NFL to guys of Tavon Austin's skill set as what it was compared to when he came out in 2013. The NFL, to me, wasn't ready for a guy like Tavon Austin. I don't think that his career was a disappointment. He played a decade in this league. The average NFL career only lasts 3 to 4 years. It's just with Tavon, there was never really an offensive mind that he went to that knew what to do with them. Even Sean McVay, he's one of the greatest offensive minds in the NFL in the past decade, and he didn't really know how to get the most out of Tavon. Plus, he was injury prone. He couldn't stay healthy. But I still view Tavon Austin as a legend. I feel he paved the way for guys like Tyreek Hill, Tank Dell, smaller players. Although Tyreek Hill is on the bigger end of things, he still is under 6 foot, and I don't think he's 200 pounds. I think he's around 185, 190, and Tavon was able to bulk up. There was a point during his career when he was 185, but it's just that the creativity wasn't there, which is what you need to utilize and get the most out of a guy like Tavon Austin's skill set. But he still had a great career. He still is in my Hall of Fame of very good players. And I'll never forget watching those Tavon Austin highlight reels when you got the theme song. You can tell them that I've been from hell and back. Like, everybody, at least around my age, if you're in your 20s or early 20s, you're always going to remember Tavon Austin. He's one of those players that just defined an era of college football where when you end up having your kids, you're going to be telling them, man, that player that you keep talking about is nice, but let me show you Tavon Austin.